Hola. Hey UPB, hey Saren's World, what's going on? Just getting a good little stretch in before we get started. We're going to be playing the Chat Plays Pokemon Emerald again today, but for the next hour before I head for work, we're just going to have our coffee. I'm going to get ourselves woken up here, get ready for the day. I'm just going to be switching screens. Apparently my camera can't find my face. There we go. Camera found the face finally. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I have ideas. There's definitely stuff I want to do. Might want to run one quick game of TCG. I also want to watch something real quick that I think is a good video. I think is a great creator. I definitely want to shout out because I found his video last night. Great exactly the type of content I've been looking for. Exactly the type of content I've been wanting to consume. So videos about the history of the Pokemon trading card game's competitive meta and how different competitors have played different decks throughout the eras from the beginning, even before the beginning, in Japan, in the first Japanese tournaments. He has videos covering those as well, which I think is great, especially since I love the TCG so much. I super enjoy seeing what kind of deck lists were the first deck lists being run at the very beginning. And it's so perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. So I want to try real quick. And let me see if I can find that. Here we go. So let me just pull that up real quick for us. Let's start off by watching some Ruby Retro here. So the channel is Ruby Retro, at Ruby Retro 2744. This right here, this is someone you need to subscribe to. Matter of fact, I need to hit that bell because I want to know. So, Saren, since you're the only one here right now, let me check. Yep, still just you. What do you want to start with? What would you like to watch? Because I've seen I saw this one. This was the first one I saw because I noticed it said featuring at Tricky Jim, and I was like, oh cool, Tricky Jim's in here talking about cards too. And I already from this era I knew he was going to be covering Rocket Zapdos, and I was right. Because if you're going to bring someone on that's going to talk about the TCG, you know, it's going to be Andrew Mahoney talking about Rocket Zapdos because that is his jam. Let's see. Yes, that one looks good. So that one is part 3. So this is episode 3, 2000 part 2. The very first video I think is maybe this one, part 1 of 97 from the Rising Origins. So this is about the Japanese tournaments. But this was the first one I saw. So
And take your eyes off. New Pokemon Gym Hero game cards in stores now. Decks and booster packs sold separately, plain and not included.
I'm cool.
Let's watch that.
Yeah.
So this, I remember this commercial from when Gym Heroes was coming out.
Whoa, Starm's got a new card. Golem.
New Gym Heroes game cards. New art, new trainers, and new strategies. You just can't take your eyes off them. New Pokemon Gym Heroes game cards in stores now. Decks and booster packs sold separately, plain and not included.
I'm cool.
I'm cool.
If you played the Pokemon trading card game during the latter half of 2000, your game might have gone something like this.
As you can see, Ruby Retro is a Groudon. You may say, oh, Brody, that's... No. Silly Brody. Silly UPB. They just drew and animated a Groudon for them to talk as. No. No. I say Ruby Retro is a Groudon. IRL.
this.
Subscribe to
this opening
Groudon.
hand is insane. It's absolutely nuts. When it's my turn, I'm gonna draw so many cards.
That is a busted hand for the start. Just for the early game, you're like, oh, you get 2 bills, draw 2, draw 2. Also, as they will exemplify here, in the early days, supporter cards were not supporter cards yet. They were just trainer cards. And you were allowed to play as many trainer cards in one turn as you would like. So essentially, back in the day, you could keep drawing into supporters, play every supporter within your first turn, and then your deck's already just at the stuff you need. Broken. And you're about to see why.
Well, you might not want to get too attached to it. I'll start my turn by playing Imposter Oak's Revenge.
What's that do?
I have to discard a card from my hand, then you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 4 cards.
What a good shuffle right there. That is a clean ripple shuffle.
Good try, but I've still got a pretty good hand over here.
Maybe for the time being, but next, I'm going to play Rocket Sneak Attack. I look at your hand, and then if you have any trainer cards there, I get to choose one and shuffle it back into your deck. Yeah, this Professor Oak has to go.
As you can see.
It's no worry. I still have computer search.
Still
I
has
can
yeah,
just
you
search
still
the
got
oak back.
Yeah, see, as soon as it's your
And
turn,
for my
that is.
final move, I'll play the Rocket's Trap. I flip a coin, and if heads, I choose up to 3 cards at random from your hand and shuffle them back into your deck.
And oh, look at that.
Oh,
now you got no hand
back to the
for
deck.
your starting turn. Good luck. Stupid. Absolutely stupid.
Yeah, so how's that hand feeling now, Aaron?
Very sad. Very empty.
Just how I want it.
Or maybe it looked more like this.
With a scyther.
This is the best one. This is the best example right here. This is the type of example I would hope to get right off rip.
I won't have to worry about any opposing Hitmonchan.
Good luck.
Good luck.
I'll draw for
I just want to say one thing. I don't know if this is a playmat or if this is a table that they're playing on, but I want it. This is so nice. It's like a freaking football / soccer field / like a green top basketball court you would find at a park, but Pokemon. I want it.
turn.
Also, I love seeing the old coins and the damage counters. I especially want to try and track down some old, like, OG Pokemon coins. So you didn't have...
Yes.
You didn't get to have
My
a go.
plan
and
is
then
coming
the cards
together.
clear. Well, yeah, I mean, that was all still... So he does get to go, but that was all still on Andrew Mahoney's turn, who is the person on the left who's doing all the nasty things. So yeah, that, like I said, you could play as many supporter cards as you want on your turn, because they weren't supporters yet. They were just trainer cards. Madness. Yo, Sven McThias, what's going on? We're having our morning coffee, and we're watching reacting to a wonderful video from Ruby Retro. Please go subscribe to Ruby Retro on YouTube. Currently sitting at 10.1k subs. They make content on the history of the TCG, and I'm in love with it. Right now, we're reacting to 2000 competitive meta Gym / East Coast Super Trainer Showdown, featuring @TrickyJim, who is another professional TCG player and competitive TCG player that you can watch to learn a lot from. God, what's the name of the... There's Top Deck Academy. I believe it's called Top Deck Academy. If you want to learn how to play the TCG, go to Tricky Jim's channel. Try to find the Top Deck Academy videos. They will teach you everything you need to know and a little bit more.
I'll bench Erica's Jigglypuff and attach double colorless energy to it. Retreat my Rattata. Play 2 plus power from my hand. And then Professor Oak to discard my hand and draw 7 cards. Two more plus power, and I'll pulled punch for the knockout and game.
No.
You thought you were safe.
Turn
If
one
these
win.
scenes looked pretty...
Turn one win with Erica's Jigglypuff. Are you...
nothing like the early days of Pokemon we talked about in previous episodes.
If you don't
you'd
got
be
something
right.
else on your bench, it's
Sure,
game over.
games in
It's GG,
1999
fam.
could be decided early on, but the first sets of Pokemon set up
Nasty.
90 game states focused on
That's
resource
nasty, stinky
management
poop,
and
and I
keeping
love
track
it.
of both players' cards remaining. Where did the game go so horribly wrong? I'm the Ruby Retro historian, and this is the story of the chaos of the base to gym era.
In one moment, I want to drop a link for Ruby Retro. I'm gonna pin that real quick. Copy. And it'd be easier to do on my phone, actually. Hey, what's going on, Richard Burns? How we doing, fam? Give me one moment. I feel this is important. I'm going to drop a link and make it easier for you guys. Especially if you're playing the TCG now, even if you haven't played in the past. This content, this is what you want to watch if you like TCG. Especially if you weren't around in the starting. Like, if you weren't around that era. I was around that era, but I wasn't playing when I was a kid. I was mainly just going to leagues to collect and trade. I'd bring my binders, get my cards stolen. You know, it was a whole thing. But I wasn't really playing. I would just watch people play, you know? Did you see the new playmats? Probably not. What playmats? I'm having trouble pinning this message here. There we go. Pin message. Just going to pin that up at the top. That is a link to the Ruby Retro. Free to click that link. Go subscribe to them for this wonderful content we are watching now. Yo, Poke Bronx. What's happening? We haven't got too far into the video. I do have work. About like 45 minutes maybe. Something like that. Actually, like less. Yeah, we gotta leave it a little bit, but we're gonna watch this video real quick. This is by the Ruby Retro. I have his channel link pinned at the top of chat. If you're interested in the TCG, feel free to click that link and subscribe. Actually, for the sake of time, I am gonna put the playback speed up to like 1.25.
Following the first Super Trainer Showdown, Wizards of the Coast announced plans for a second tournament, this time on the East Coast. Taking place a few months after the California tournament, this STS would see the inclusion of 2 new expansions, Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge. These sets introduced players to the iconic Owner's Pokemon mechanic, where each Pokemon in the set was owned by one of Kanto's 8 gym leaders or a Team Rocket run.
Name them all. Bet you can't.
Where each Pokemon in the set was owned by one of Kanto's 8 gym leaders or a Team Rocket.
Name them all. Bet you can't. You probably can't. Brock, Misty, Lieutenant Surge, Erica, Koga, Sabrina, Blaine, Giovanni, Grunt.
run. Different from other
Hey, what's
versions of
happening, Alan?
themselves, these
Hey,
Pokemon
LEGX,
could only
what's
evolve
happening,
into
fam?
other Pokemon owned by that trainer. So a base set
Just
Charmander
having
could
my,
not evolve into
my
a
morning
Morning
coffee.
Charmeleon.
We're watching this wonderful video from Ruby Retro. I found them last night. I love everything they make. I'm gonna binge watch this man's whole content list. Everything. It's all about the history of the Pokemon TCG from the very beginning, the very humble first Japanese tournaments, up through every release in every era that happened. This is part 3 of the 2000 competitive meta from Gym Heroes and Challenge, from Gym Heroes into the East Coast Super Trainer Showdown. This video is featuring Tricky Jim as well, who's another great TCG.
And a Blaine's Charmander
Channel
into
you
base
can
set
check out.
Charmeleon, and so on. You get the picture. The Gym series also introduced players to the first new type of trainer card, Stadiums. Based on the concept of a Pokemon arena or gym, these trainer cards were placed in the center of play and remained in play until another stadium was played, whether by you or by your opponent. Players today are certainly well versed in this concept. What might come as a surprise to them is that you used to be able to play as many stadium cards as you wanted in a single turn, even if you were replacing the current stadium card with another of the same name. With cards like Imposter Oak's Revenge in the mix, this certainly gave players a deck pinning
Yep,
option
got the,
besides strategic discarding
got the
with
link.
computer searches or item
Moo moo
finders.
milk, baby.
Lastly, the gym sets provided the game with the first evidence of Pokemon tool cards. Though not officially classified as that, cards like Brock's Protection and Sabrina's ESP attached themselves to Pokemon and provided an effect beyond their activation from a player's hand. Unfortunately, these new mechanics did not drastically alter play, and the card pool, which was now sitting at over 500 unique cards, was vastly underutilized. This is due to the cards the Gym series added, which further was vastly alter play, and the card pool, which was now sitting at over 500 unique cards, was vastly underutilized. This is due to
I missed it.
was now sitting at over 500 unique cards, was vastly underutilized.
There it is. That's my boy. Look at my little boy. Look at Koga's ditto. Look at that baby boy. I picked one of those up at Collecticon. Little Koga's ditto. I liked it.
This is due to the cards the Gym series added, which further encouraged the degenerate nature of Big Basic and Do the Wave strategies. Each set only added a handful of playable cards, but these few were almost exclusively responsible for decimating the game players became accustomed to during 1999.
And we'll
Gym
get
Heroes
to him.
was
He'll
released
cover
in
them.
mid-August of 2000,
I was gonna pause and look
featuring
over
the
them,
canonical
but they
first
are,
4
we'll
Kanto
get
Gym
to 'em.
leaders, Brock, Misty, Lieutenant Surge, and Erica. Unfortunately, practically none of the Pokemon released were remotely impactful at the time. The only one
See that rocket grunt creeping up at the top here? Oh, you can't because my camera's blocking it, but I don't know if I'm able to move it in any way. I minimized the window. Let's see how that changes it. Nah, yeah, still small. Oh well, he's there, hanging down upside down. Like,
ones worth
excuse
mentioning
me?
are those which further fueled Big Basic archetypes.
The rocket ones
Rocket's
were good.
Hitmonchan was a solid addition to the Haymaker deck,
Rocket's
providing a
Hitmonchan
stronger
was
3 energy
good.
attack than Hitmonchan's Special Punch, as well as a reactive attack and cross counter. Rocket's Scyther also improved on the damage of its jungle predecessor, while boasting a powerful single energy attack that allowed it to avoid damage until removed from the active spot if its user could win a coin flip. Brock's Mankey finally gave decks a means other than Muck to deal with Dark Vileplume, by forcing it active via its Taunt attack. Brock's Rhyhorn provided the emerging Stall archetype another way to force your opponent's active to switch for the cost of a mere double colorless energy. However, the most impactful card was Erica's Dratini, which was a stronger version of Jungle Mr. Mime that
Whenever an attack by a basic Pokemon, including your own, does 20 or more damage to Erica's Dratini, the applying weakness resistance, reduce that damage to 10 if any other effects of attacks still happen. Okay, so yeah, effects of attacks. This power stops working while Erica's Dratini is asleep, confused, or paralyzed.
forced your opponent to attack it 4 times, because, unlike Mr. Mime, Dratini's power reduced all damage to 10. Opening the game with this Pokemon definitely helped to extend the game past the early turns. After having your hand hit by your opponent's barrage
Rainy
of
day
disruption
here?
trainers, and needing to
Oh,
find
that
something
means
to
the
keep you
rain's
in the
gonna be
game
probably
as they
coming up
launched
this way.
powerful attacks from Big Basics or from Wigglytuff.
Dang it.
Speaking of trainer cards,
Oh well.
this set is where things started going
I'll be at work
completely
before that
off
gets
the
here.
rails.
Hopefully.
Remember the disruption of Imposter Oak's
love
Revenge
gym
and Rocket's
cards.
Sneak Attack? Well,
Had
rounding
some
out the
family
era's
Japan
disruption
times and
cards
got
was the
Sabrina
Rocket's
and
Trap.
Rick's,
Flip a coin.
Brock's deck
Oh,
in
you got
Japanese.
heads? Great. Shuffle 3
Almost, and I should have. I really should have bought it. But the thing is, I don't believe the because it wasn't sealed. It was a Sabrina's theme deck, the one that had the banned Gengar. However, it didn't have the banned Gengar, so I didn't buy it. But they only wanted like $110, and they sent me an offer for like $90. I probably still should have bought it for $90. That would have been a nice pickup, because there are other nice Sabrina's cards in there. I'm good taking the kids to school while listening to UPB on
cards
the
from your
box.
opponent's hand into their deck.
If they're in the
Remember,
car,
we
I'll
didn't
keep
have
clean.
supporter cards
No
yet,
swears,
so
but
you
it's
could
early
play up
morning.
to
We
4
usually don't
copies
swear.
of this card in a single turn. Revenge your opponent's hand down to 4,
We're gonna be
then
the
hit them
good
with one of
sport.
these bad boys,
The
and their
coolest
hand is
sport.
completely crippled. Make it 2? Well, good luck top decking out of that hand block. Not even computer search can save you when you have no other cards in hand to fulfill its discard cost. With only Bill and Oak to work with for draw power, surely this disruptive combo was difficult to pull off, right? Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Gym Heroes added even more explosive draw power to the game. Erica let each player draw 3 cards. When you're already shuffling your opponent's hand back with Oak's Revenge, who cares how many cards you
Yeah,
give them?
doesn't
You're
matter.
just going to set them back to 4 anyways. Misty's Wrath also allowed players to dig deep into their decks for necessary pieces to complete this disruption combo, seeing 7 cards, choosing 2, and then just discarding the ones you didn't need. With recovery cards like Mewtwo, Nightly Garbage Run, and Item Finder running around, who cares what you're discarding?
Also, I'd like to point out, because I didn't know this originally, so this Mewtwo was in Japan way before we got it. They had this released as a promo, like during base set. So this was out in the Japanese meta way before we had it.
As long as you find those disruption
Which
cards.
is not even for
Sure,
me to think of.
Erica and Misty's Wrath could help players draw out of Sneak Attack and Rocket's Trap, but it's not like draw cards were the only thing players were running in their decks. They were bound to hit energy
LGX
or useless
Sam, what's up,
Pokemon
Theo
cards
Rico with
that
the
would
rock
just ensure
stars?
that their opponent could move further and further ahead in the game. Gym Heroes also released several of the most unique trainers in the game's history, but it's too bad most just weren't worth running, when you had so many other powerful cards available to you. One of these cards that did find its way into mill install archetypes was Tickling Machine, which, upon winning a coin flip, set aside your opponent's hand for the
I just want to say, I hate being tickled. That's it.
turn.
That's it.
This could not only slow your opponents down,
That's my
but
reaction to
coupled
that
with
card.
the
I
long-forgotten
hate
Imposter Oak, could
I don't
actually mill your
necessarily
opponent by
go
forcing
like,
them to draw 7
stop.
new
No,
cards
I go like,
after
bitch,
setting
I'll
their original
punch you in
hand
the
aside.
face. Don't.
Win a few coin flips,
Sorry.
and you force your opponent
I
to draw
just
huge
said I
chunks
wouldn't
of their deck
swear.
at a time.
But that's how
And
much I
in a
hate.
format
I
without
hate
hand refreshing cards,
tickling.
there was just no way to get their deck count back
I
up,
apologize
aside from
for the
nightly
body
garbage
mouth.
runs and the little played Mr.
That's
Fuji.
very.
With stadiums being the new trainer mechanic, you'd hope Pokemon would at least release a few playable ones.
I don't even know.
And
It's just not
thankfully,
wanted.
they did.
You don't want that.
No
Not
removal
this
gem
early in
was
the
the
morning,
game's first
especially.
attempt
Such-
at hard
such
countering the
vitriol.
barrage of energy removal cards
Such
available to
dark
players.
language. I'm
However,
sorry. I
with so many draw cards available to one player and such small hand sizes remaining following a turn of disruption
off.
cards,
Swear away.
it's easy to see how the discard cost was too easily met for the already dominating player versus the one who was struggling to have more than 2 cards in their hand at a time. Though
So yeah, I'm sure this trainer card especially. So as you just saw too, with all that stuff that's going on, if you're able to just whittle away your opponent's hand, like no removal gym really sucks because it just holds you back at that point. Because like yeah, they can't remove your energy, but like you have to be able to discard 2 cards from your hand in order to play one. And if you have no cards in your hand, then you can't play one. So this just really shuts you down.
played, it probably didn't make the impact Pokemon intended it to. Additionally, Narrow Gym was the first card limiting a player's bench size,
Almost
capping
had
it at
coffee. I
4
should've made
instead
a
of the
little more
usual
so I could
5.
have a second
Talk
cup,
about a
but
double slap in the
yeah,
face
so
to Wigglytuff.
gotta leave for work in,
Interestingly,
like, 27
instead of
minutes.
discarding
Do have to
Pokemon like
set up
later
the game,
iterations of
too.
this card
How much
would,
time we got
like
left?
Giant
We
Stump
might
or
not be able
Parallel
to finish
City,
this video.
you actually return the Pokemon to your hand with all cards
you know,
attached.
we got time.
Not exactly the payoff you want for catching your opponent over benching, but it did set up plays where you could heal a Pokemon by filling your own bench and then bouncing it back to your hand by putting a Narrow Gym into play. The first major tournament to occur on your own bench and then bouncing it back to
Dang, I thought my apartment was small. My apartment is at least like 2.5 of these narrow gyms. Walk in, boom, square room. I'm like, fuck. Actually, more like 3 of these. Dang, I'm blessed. I get like 3 amounts of this space and a little offshoot for a kitchen and a bathroom. I'm blessed, man.
Your hand by putting a
Whoever
narrow
lives
gym
in the
into
narrow
play.
gym,
The
sorry,
first
bro.
major
I
tournament
hope the
to
rent's
occur
good
after
at
the release of
least.
Gym Heroes was the International
you make
Tropical
it a
Mega Battle in
loft?
Hawaii. If you watched our 1999 video, you might have wondered why we didn't mention that tournament.
Yeah, I definitely got to go back and watch the rest of this content. I watched like more videos than I should have last night. Kind of like watching them while I worked on deck builds for my phone, which I do really want to show you guys a deck build. Like, really want to show you this one deck. Like, this is so good.
Well, like the 1999 tournament, this Tropical Mega Battle was invitation only and was limited to children. It was more of a PR stunt for the part.
Here, let's
this
pop
same
forward a little
days
bit.
of play. These were the first tournaments to feature the new Gym Heroes expansion. Yet it's clear from
I've
the
been stopping
reports
a bit,
of the
so I
first
gotta
few
make some
qualifiers
time
that
by
players did not yet
skipping
know
this
the strength of many of these new cards, or they simply hadn't cracked enough packs to have them available to play.
No, put it in a
Whatever the
sleeve
case,
before you put
let's
it in the
take a look at the results
binder.
from this round of STS qualifiers.
Kid.
The first Mall Tour was held in Troy, Michigan at the end of August.
You saw him just raw dogging those cards in that sleeve, in the sleeve, or in the page. No sleeves, just put it right in the binder. I mean, yeah, it's kind of safe, but gotta sleeve them babies up, man.
Evan Miller earned an invite by winning his flight with the classic Mewtwo Wigglytuff variant. The list is pretty standard to what you would have seen at the West Coast STS, because he played no new Gym Heroes cards. Interestingly enough, it ran no bill or computer search in favor of more disruption cards like Sneak Attacks and Lass. STS qualifiers continue the following weekend on Long Island. This
Dude, we're traveling right now. We're going all over the 50
list claimed an
states.
invite using
Well,
the
not all
combo
the
of the
50
newly
states,
printed
but we're
Energy
popping all
Flow
over
with
the
Pokemon
US.
Center to return water energy to hand
Yeah,
before playing
Tim
Pokemon Center to heal your damaged Pokemon. While it earned an invite, it ultimately lost to a Lieutenant Surge
I
deck,
didn't hear how he
which
said his
is
name.
fitting, I suppose. Speaking of Lieutenant Surge, check out this unique Surge list, running a
Checking
Firo
out the
line
site,
backed by Electabuzz and Dratini.
What site?
Only being
I'm already
stopped by a
done.
Wigglytuff deck in the finals, which put his Dratini to sleep, to then bypass its strange barrier power, this deck
Forget what I said
literally
too
flew
quick.
through the competition.
What?
The last
What's
deck
that?
of note coming out of Long Island comes from a member of Team Canada, or as he goes by in his report, the Amazing Canadian. Recognizing the strength
The
of Dark
Amazing
Vileplume,
Canadian.
backed by Disruption Trainers and Strong Draw, the Amazing Canadian took down his flight with ease. Ruby Retro's home state of Ohio continued the trend of Wigglytuff domination at the Cincinnati qualifier, with Andy Jacobs taking down his flight with the standard list featuring Hitmonchan and Cypher. Josh Breckenridge quite literally brought the heat in his flight, taking second to a colorless Haymaker build with his Arcanine damage swap deck. By manipulating the amount of damage on Arcanine, you could KO almost anything with its devastating.
I want to take a look at this card. One sec. Where's an English one? Need an English one. Ah, come on. Boom. So, look at this card. Look at this card. Raging Claws, 30 plus. This attack does 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Flames of Rage. Discard 2 energy cards attached to Arcanine in order to use this attack. This attack does 40 damage plus 10 damage for each damage counter on Arcanine. Look familiar? It's like the same thing. If you ever say, oh man, all these packs, all these cards, this is bad for the environment, at least Pokemon is recycling their attacks and abilities. Still, even to this day, they're recycling.
Devastating Flames of Rage attack. In a field
Endearing.
dominated by Haymakers and Wigglies, this list definitely stands out as one of the most unique. Magmar was on full display in West Dundee, Illinois the following weekend. Starting to realize the ease with which disruption cards could fit into Wigglytuff decks, Toby
Same
Aurora
card.
added in a cast of characters featuring Magmar to pilot this list to a second place finish in his flight. The true innovation here came in Bob Havlovik's active stall list, featuring Magmar and the somewhat elusive Lickitung, backed by healing and energy removal cards to wear down his opponents. It's easy to see why he did so well. For the time, this list is super clean, and I'm sure a lot of his opponents just had no idea how to play against a stall deck. I want to mention that one of the qualifier tournaments in West Dundee saw the birth of a Pokemon legend, Kyle Pukasukovic. He won one of the qualifier tournaments using a deck containing Wigglytuff, Clefable, Dodrio, and Scyther. Well, the list is sadly lost to time.
I'm so jealous. Still have the invitation I got to the STS. Did you go, Kyle?
And Puka
Did you
didn't see
compete?
success at the STS way back in the game's earliest day. An Aerodactyl stopped.
Oh, this is my deck right here.
The Braintree, Massachusetts qualifier with a deck entirely focused on destroying Wiggly.
John, a man after my heart. He has 3 Dittos and Aerodactyls. 2 of my favorite mons with a Haymaker build, as well as Erica Stratini. Beautiful.
Erica Stratini prevented Tuff from taking easy one-hit KOs, and Aerodactyl stopped their Puffs from becoming Tuffs. For good measure, Chimento ran Hitmonchans and Dittos to ensure the favorable matchup. In the end, he lost to a member of Team Canada, running an Alakazam Tickling Machine stall deck in the finals of his flight. In North Carolina, the classic Sponge archetype still proved strong. Will Cousins took this iconic deck to a first-place finish, defeating the Cleaner, Wigglytuff, and Haymaker on the way to the top. He opted to run Narrow Gym to counter Wigglytuff's Do the Wave attack, as well as opposing no removal gyms. As you can see, he ran heavy counts of removal cards, so it was very important to his strategy to keep that stadium card far away from play. Dustin C won a flight that weekend with what he deemed Speed K9.
I want to build
Similar
some
to
of
the
these decks
Cleaner deck
IRL,
from
man.
1999.
I gotta get some.
His list focused on setting up an
older
Arcanine
cards.
behind stalling Pokemon like
They don't even
Magmar
have to be in
and
great
Erica's
condition
Stratini,
if I'm gonna
running
play
no
'em.
removal gym to ensure his energy stayed on the board.
I'm gonna
At
try
one
and
of the
build
last
some of these
qualifiers,
playlists.
the power of the new disruption cards were finally on full display in
Gotta be
decks
able to
like
find
this
some,
Wigglytuff
like,
deck. Deemed a trapper deck,
damage
this
to
variant
moderate
of Do the
play,
Wave maxed out
you
on
know,
all of the Rocket disruption
vintage cards
seeking to
for-
run through
for
their
just
deck on the
play.
first turn
Cheap
to
on
ensure their
TCG
opponent had
player,
no
have to
hand
be
to
able
work
to.
with. Trapper would become one of the most feared meta decks, and it would only get stronger with
Fugar.
cards from the newly released Gym Challenge. Released in October, just before the East Coast STS, and right after the conclusion of the qualifiers, Gym Challenge continued the game's descent into chaos. And speaking of chaos, this set gave us Chaos Gym, one of the craziest cards that's probably ever been printed.
And a great
There's
artwork.
a lot of text on the card, but basically it boils down to when someone plays a trainer that's not a stadium card, flip a coin. If tails, your opponent gets to use the trainer card instead. Okay, so that's not too bad, until you realize that your opponent could just run through their entire deck, disrupt your hand, slap down Chaos Gym, and essentially give you no way of drawing out of the Rocket handlock other than flipping heads. Gym Challenge also added one other card that basically destroyed any chance of your opponent getting to take a turn, Erica's Jigglypuff. This little pink puffball seems innocent enough,
We already saw at the start what this baby can do.
but it comes with an attack that for the cost of 1 double colorless energy can smack your opponent for 40 damage, with plus in the game. The plus
We already saw that.
could pull
Skip
Jiggly,
pass.
and I'm
Save
going to
some
hand
time
it over
here.
to him for this next one.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
Tricky Jim
Andrew
here.
Hall here from Tricky Jim, joining the crew from Ruby Retro to talk about one of my favorite Pokemon cards of all time, Rocket Zapdos. This card has it all, from the incredible artwork to the broken attacks, no weakness, and awesome resistance.
I'm sure you're
This
familiar
card
with
is a
seeing this in
mainstay
celebrations.
in the gym formats. Its plasma attack was perfect in Haymaker decks, allowing you to defy energy removal strategies by accelerating lightning energy from the discard pile to Rocket Zapdos. Not only did it make this card impervious to energy removal, it helped you to play your own super energy removals since you had extra energy stored up on Rocket Zapdos to discard with super energy removal to remove your opponent's energy from play. It's also got the awesome Electro Burn attack, which does a hefty 70 damage and one-hit KOs almost every basic Pokemon in the Pokemon TCG.
Oh, you think you got a Haymaker?
Now it does
I'll show
do
you
10
Haymaker.
damage to itself for each lightning energy attached to Rocket Zapdos. But Defender pairs really well with this, since you can use Defender to decrease the damage that Rocket Zapdos takes from its own Electro Burn attack, and it decreases the damage that Rocket Zapdos takes from the opponent during their next turn. Rocket Zapdos also has no weakness and a minus 30 resistance to fighting. The most popular lightning type
The
attacker
reason
up
Andrew
until
Mahoney
this
is
point,
covering this card is because
Electabuzz, was
this
weak to
is his
fighting and
jam.
had no resistance.
Also, you know, if
so
you're going to do a
Zapdos, in
collab,
lot
you
of
might as
ways,
well let someone
is a
cover the
strict
thing that they
upgrade
know the
from
most.
base set Electabuzz. So Rocket Zapdos pretty much ended up replacing base set Electabuzz in the gym format Haymaker decks. Now I don't know who decided to give a Rocket Grunt a Zapdos, but I'm glad they did, because this card rocks, and it's definitely one of my favorite cards ever printed. Huge thanks to the guys at Ruby Retro for having me on to talk about this powerhouse of a card.
Thanks, Andrew. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to check out Andrew's channel, Tricky Jim, for
Yes.
modern and retro.
Do be sure to check out Tricky Jim and subscribe for both modern and past. Let's say modern and past TCG history.
Obtain the other Pokemon's powers, so you couldn't spring a Dark Vileplume or Blastoise out of nowhere on your opponents. But you still had plenty of options in evolution
Gotta walk
Pokemon
the
with strong
dog now.
attacks
Have to
that were
check
kept out of the
out,
game
have to
by
check
strong
this
basic
out
Pokemon
later.
and energy
Adios.
removal
Have a good
cards.
I got
Printed
the link
alongside
pinned at
it
the top
was
of
Brock's
chat,
protection,
so if you want to
shielding
subscribe
it from
to
the
Ruby
onslaught
Retro,
of energy removal
they
cards,
have
allowing
plenty
you to
more
easily
videos
power
like
it up
this,
for the plethora of available attackers.
covering everything
Though
from
it would
the
not
past
reach its pinnacle
TCG.
until the Neo era, Brock's Ninetales was still moderately playable throughout the Gym era, and certainly goes down as one of the most intriguing cards we've ever received. The amount of crazy, game-disrupting cards that we just seemingly kept getting set after set was proving too much. Realizing the game was quickly getting out of hand, Wizards searched for a solution. While responsible for running the American events, they had no say in actual game design. Their request to create banned and restricted lists fell on deaf ears. Seemingly, the Japanese game designers were satisfied with allowing players to run up to 4 of all the broken cards they kept printing. Ironically, they were placing restrictions on the more broken cards in Japan, like Computer Search and Super Energy Removal, so it's unclear exactly why they were fine letting America's game be as crazy as it was becoming.
They didn't know. They didn't care. I mean, this has been very well documented from past stuff, but Japan overall, they discredit the West's intelligence to be able to figure out things. Similarly, like with Earthbound, when Earthbound came out, the only way they released that game for the West was one version. It was a big box that came with a strategy guide, because they were convinced that the Western audiences would not be able to complete or get the fullness of that game without a strategy guide. And ultimately, it hurt the game, just the same way as their discredit to our intelligence hurt the TCG game on our side.
Wizards instead successfully convinced them to create a new format for tournament play, the infamous Prop 15-3. Announced just before the release of Gym Challenge as the format for the upcoming Super Trainer Showdown, the Prop 15-3 rule set limited each player to running a max of
You should have gone for the head.
the max of 3 cards instead of the original 4 in their decks, outside of basic energies, of course. Most importantly, the rules limited the amount of trainer cards a player could run to 15, ensuring that only the most important trainers, like Professor Oak and Computer Search, would see play, while disruption cards and other quote-unquote weaker trainers would not. I can only imagine how fun deck checks were for this Super Trainer Showdown, and how many times judges had to count to 15. Despite the announcement, Prop 15-3 would not be a format for any tournaments leading up to the STS. Here are a few lists from local events where we can see the power of Gym Challenge on full display. Advantage of Erica's Jigglypuff by running max counts of plus power and powerful draw cards like Bill and Oak. Looking to counter polarizing trapper decks
Bill?
like these, John Chimento played this arithmetic variant of Rocket Zapdos locally to much success
Hey, there's
by
our
running
boy
heavy
John
counts
again.
of removal cards and the high HP Chansey.
Where did Ditto?
Seeing
But
lists
I don't
like
think that's
this
the
makes
same
me
John.
really glad that Wizards
That's a
opted for
different
Prop
John.
15-3 for its STS. Unfortunately, the over 700 players who participated in the East Coast tournament don't share my thoughts on the format. While they constructed and tested decks for the event, the limitations imposed on trainers really just didn't solve a lot of the game's issues. As we'll soon see when we take a look at the STS results, the same strong Pokemon still found themselves in players' decks. While there were some creative deck choices that we'll be sure to look at, most players fell back on what had always done well, and the results really reflect that. Rain Dance continued to do well
I've just seen those photos. I'm like, bro, I wish I could be there. That's not fair, man.
in the younger age group. First place was Jonathan Brooks, a name we'll get used to seeing quite a lot of in these videos. In the early days of Pokemon, Jonathan made quite the splash at events, and I don't mean that as a Rain Dance pun. He's just
Watching
someone
this
who had
makes me
great
wanna play,
success
though,
in the
and
early
I
years of the game.
hate that I have to
Jonathan
work
used his 15 trainer
today,
slots
'cause
to
I'd love
focus
to just
solely on
stream
consistently
and
setting
show
up
you
a quick
guys,
blast
some of the
choice.
decks I've been
According to
working on.
Pojo, he
I've
double
been
oaked his way
tirelessly
through his
trying to
deck
get
to
this stuff
achieve
to work.
victory over Jerome Schoss's Haymaker deck. It's incredible to me that instead of opting to play War Turtle, he just made half of his deck energy cards. Rain Dance claimed another top 4 spot with another draw and energy heavy list. What makes David Santos' list interesting and different from Jonathan's is the fact that he ran a Dark Blastoise. Santos was all in on draw cards. This is one of the few deck lists that we'll see that used its trainer spots on Bill. He also ran Erica. Giving your opponent extra cards in a format where finding an oak can prove difficult doesn't seem like the right call to me. But I don't have a top 4 finish at an STS like David does, so what do I know? The finals in the middle-aged division was a mere match of Wigglytuff and friends. Rudy Rodriguez claimed the first prize of the match and eventually came out on top with his Lightning Wigglytuff build, taking advantage of the newly released Rocket Zapdos. Realizing the impact such few trainers could have on a match, he opted to run Chaos Gym to try and further limit his opponent's ability to play their own oaks and set up. In fact, Rudy used Chaos Gym to win his semi-finals match after drawing extra cards off of his opponent's mulligan, then locking his opponent entirely out of trainers. His opponent tried to oak to get back into the game, but flipped tails, allowing Rudy to dig further into his deck and find even more needed resources. If Chaos Gym is one thing, it's definitely fair and balanced. Coming in third place was Carson White with a Brock Sandslash Clefable deck. This deck has it all. Fast offense with Hitmon.
Alright, from here, I think we're going to stop the video. You guys can finish the rest of this on your own. I don't want to take too much of the content away. End of the video gets nice. Covers the STS 15 plus. Covers the rest of the winners here. Has a nice little outro. There's plenty of other content as well as you can watch about like the Rocket era, Fossil, Jungle, all the base set stuff up before this point. Even gets into a tease at covering the Neo Genesis era, which, like, ready for it. Please check out Review Retro, one of the new favorite content creators I have for the Pokemon TCG. Let's go ahead and get back over here. I do want to cover one thing in the TCG Live before we kick it over to the Chat Plays Pokemon Emerald. What's going on, Joseph? Hope you're having a good morning. So we're going to be kicking up the Chat Plays Emerald soon, but I just want to show you real quick this deck build that I'm trying to work on. Initially, I wanted to make this a one prize deck build, but it works a lot better and more effective with a Gardevoir EX. So I'm trying it out with the Gardevoir EX, but the thing is, see, I tried to do this for a video. I wanted to do 3 one-prize decks that you could play for cheap that could be fun. I wasn't running them ranked because I'm just testing them, but this is Moon Balloon 2 with Gardevoir EX. Let's see if we have time to get in a... We don't have time to get in a quick game, but I can at least maybe get you to see a setup here. Probably shouldn't be going into a game right now, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try here. Let's turn up our music. We're going against Mando 27-3. Give him a little thumbs up back and be cordial, civil. Not the worst, but not the best. It's okay though, we have a Battle VIP Pass, got Level Ball, Ultra Ball. If we can manage to get another Battle VIP Pass for our first draw, even better. It's been set up so hard. I don't like that they're already like about ready to start hitting though with their rapid. Yes, boy, what did I say? Oh, let's get a good setup here. We'll grab... Nope, not you yet. Don't need you yet. Grab Ralts and Spinda. And then we will Battle VIP Pass for... Drifblim and you. We'll attach to Spinda. And here we're going to enter. Next turn, we'll Level Ball. We'll grab our Arculia, and we can start hitting Refinement. I run this pretty low for the refinements. Usually, like, if you want a good refinement turn to really fish through your deck, you want to have at least, like, 2 Kirlia down. But being with how tight this deck build is, I kind of had to trim it to just keeping one on a bench at a time. And usually I feel like that's enough, along as well with Shining Arcana for the energy setup. But as I said, we're moving into the Gardevoir EX because it's a little bit more effective with trying to discard from the graveyard, which allows us to be able to get going immediately when we need an attacker. Let's go ahead and get this here. We're going to grab Kirlia. Drop that onto our Ralts. And then we're going to attach to you. And retreat into the Spinda. We will then judge. Drop our Zoroark down as well. Get that there. Oh yeah, we can refine it here. Let's refine it. We'll refine the basic energy. Another Ralts, another Cosmog. Then we will Dizzying Spin, which unfortunately is not going to do any damage due to the Lake Acuity. I really got to get rid of this, but okay. All Pokemon with water or fighting energy attached, both yours and your opponent take 20 less damage. That's going to hurt us a little bit. But now that we have it set up, let me explain to you what this deck is supposed to do. So we have our Drifblim here. Drifloon. When evolved into Drifblim, has a better version of this Balloon Blast. Actually, no, it doesn't. That's a 30 times damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. What you want to do, though, essentially, is you want to set up your Drifblim, which has an attack for 3 Psychic Energy, that allows you to place 8 damage counters on your Pokemon, or your opponent's Pokemon, in any way you like. So you get to just spread 8 damage counters across all Pokemon how you please. Spinda is not bad either at helping get the early game spread damage. It puts 10 damage on all your opponent's Pokemon and leaves the active confused, which I think is great. However, when you evolve, it does heal the confusion, so we've lost our Spinda. We're only running 1 in the deck, so it kind of sucks to lose that now. We also lose the Hisui and Zoroark. This is a bad setup at first. But anyway, the base idea is you want to use your Drifblim to set up damage across the board. And then you want to hit late game with the Lunala for Lunar Pain for 2 colorless energies. Double the number of damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So across the board, you can just wipe the whole bench and the active, essentially, by just doubling damage counters up. Nuts! This deck can do well. It's a little hard when you can't get the right setup, but unfortunately, we didn't for today. I'm gonna go ahead and concede this game. We'll get in some games on this tonight when I get back from work. For now, though, I am gonna set up the Chat Plays Pokemon Emerald and start getting ready to head out the door. Let's go ahead and close this out here. Oh, we're so close to that next one in the Battle Pass. We could start a game and concede, and we could essentially get that little bit. But it's fine. We're gonna back this out. Close her now. And let me... Here, I'll set this up here so you can at least I can talk to you guys while I'm setting up. Dude, my hair is not staying in the ponytail. Look how frayed and frizzy. No, we pulling that out. We gotta refix that. Looking like a mess. Anyway. Also, I did get another game for us to play. If anyone's down to maybe play the trading card game for Game Boy Color. That could be fun. We can take a vote in chat if you guys want to play today, but also I want to play very much too, so I think I'll leave that for us to play, because I want to play it as well. Let's load up Pokemon Emerald. Okay, that is up. Alright. Should pop up any minute now for you guys on the screen. could try flashing the game cut. Nope, there it is. Let me run my code. Alright, code is up and running. Guys, I'm gonna cut my mic, get my socks and shoes on, start getting out the door. I will see you guys in chat very soon when I arrive at my destination. Peace, guys.